the technophiles out there and the flash and flexophiles, we have a special treat. We have the maker of the JW player. Thanks for sitting down with me.
You're welcome.
So give for those of us who don't know what it is, do you want to just give a quick background of what the JW, like why it's hot and buzzworthy?
Yeah, sure. There was like a couple of years ago, there was just like the Reel and Windows Media Player plugins. You didn't have to do anything at all, like just work on your website if you had like Windows Media or Reel video. And at a certain point, like Flash came on and had like this great new like way to display your video, and it would work with everybody. But you have to build your own video player. So a lot of guys, like, they're not familiar with Flash. It's hard to build your own player. And that's what I started to like build a first version of the JW player. And that like skyrocketed the number of downloads.
So was the first version just, it had maybe a nicer look to it than the kind of standard Flash player? And was it just a single clip player, or was it a multi-clip?
Yeah. There was not really a, like, there was stuff built into Flash, and that was the standard Flash player. But then you needed to have Flash, which is like what, a $500 package of software. And like most of those guys, like they don't have it. Most of the guys like are web designers, and they have like a text editor or an HTML package, but they do not buy Flash to export a video player. So there was the opportunity to like jump into that gap and build a player yourself. And the first one basically just display the video, and there was a bar below it, no customization whatsoever.
So the bar had the triangle play button, the stop button.
Yeah, it's like
pause
play,
button.
pause, and
Scrub.
seek, volume, that's it. Yeah.
But it was not, I mean, do you think the success of it was partly because it looked nice?
I think the success of it was partly it looked nice, but very timid. Mm-hmm. So it looked good in any website. Another part is that it was open source. So if you wanted to change it, like you could download it, hack it up a little bit, and make sure that it would do exactly what you want.
So if I knew how to code, I could actually get under the hood and tweak it for my own website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what year was that? When did you first post that?
04, 05.
Okay.
I think, 2005.
And how many downloads per year kind of in 04 and 05?
I mean, in the beginning it was a couple of downloads. And that took off up until like we now have like between 10 and 15,000 downloads a day.
Wow.
Of the player.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like...
And I'm assuming you then got kind of requests of, hey, could you create a player that, for example, can play more than one video?
Yeah. In the beginning it was very, Flash was not very widely used, also because encoding of Flash videos was still pretty difficult. It was just inside
FLV files.
Yeah, FLV files. Yeah, it was just in Flash. And then there came a couple of open source tools came to the market, and more people were able to encode to FLV, and that's why when it started off a little bit. What also helped a lot was that YouTube, the first like year and a half of their existence, they used the JW player for video playback.
Okay.
So at a later point, like they hacked it up and probably threw it away and built their own version. And so it's now completely different stuff. But the first year and a half or so, they used the JW player, which there was a little like right click in it, which linked back to my website. So
you got more
as
people
YouTube
downloading.
Got more popular, the player also got more popular. I think that there was also a factor.
Yeah. Well, so that then, if you're entrepreneurial, you're like, how do I make a business out of this? So what have you made a business out of it? I mean, you're giving stuff away. I think of Red Hat with Linux. You give it away, but you have support and services. So are you building a business around the fact that tons of people know who you are, have downloaded your player? Maybe are asking you to build special things for them, or what's your business now?
So very early on, I started with not using a GPL license, but a Creative Commons license, which means free for non-commercial use. license fee for commercial use, $20.
So commercial use would be I'm a corporation and I'm using it to show a video on my corporate website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So free for like personal band websites, people profile websites, that kind of stuff. If I'm a web design company and I'm pushing one of my clients' videos on their website, you have to pay a license. If I'm a corporate company or like a media company and I am monetizing that video through ads, or I am like showing that on my website, they had to pay. So, and that grew significantly. Like that was a nice way to like build a business. And then at a certain point, you're there by yourself with the video player, and then think about like what next. And that's when I like looked around a little bit, watched at people who are working with advertising and video, to see if I could like start a company with somebody who is like more from the advertising world. My idea was that.
So you're kind of a tech and design
background
guy.
I'm like of origin I'm a designer,
okay.
but I did also do a lot of programming, just out of fun actually, because I really liked programming. And but I thought that like if you want to make a bigger business out of it, you need to like partner or set up something with advertising. And that's when I went out to like talk to people, talk to advertising networks. Some contacted me, I wasn't very interested in them. I contacted the other guys, never heard back anything from them. And then at a certain point I met the guys from Longtail Video.
Okay.
And they were like just starting up with their ID, very like down to earth ID for advertising. Just display your JavaScript advertising on top of your video player and boom, you have video ads. And that's when we started talking, clicked, and started the company.
So you are now one of the core team members of Longtail Video.
Yeah, I'm one of the founders of
Okay.
Longtail. And so the way we monetize is we sell licenses for commercial use of the video player. We sell licenses for certain plugins of the video player. There's like plugins, for example, like click on this and embed this video on Facebook. They're usually free. And we also have plugins that are, for example, for advertising, like connect this to your Dart advertising. And those plugins we license, we sell.
So you're not creating an ad network, but you're making it easy to hook in ad networks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We next to that we also have an ad network.
Okay.
But there we don't have a sales force. We just have a bit of technology in which we aggregate a couple of ad networks and make it easy for low volume publishers, self-serve publishers, to put advertising on their websites. So if I am a guy that is doing like 50,000 streams a month, Google or like Yumi, they don't want to talk to me because it's too small. Like the yield, like the money is not there. But we have a system in which we have made it look very simple and very automated to like get your advertisers and your advertisements in your video. And because we aggregate their like these sites' views, we can talk to the Yumis and the Scan Scouts and the Googles. And at the same time, because we automated things, like the individual publishers still can make some money, while we're not we don't have to do the hand holding to like make it profitable.
Yeah. So it seems like you're kind of. Sorry, I'm just waiting for him to come back to me. So it seems like you're built on top of a Flash, an Adobe base, right? So what are maybe some of the most recent innovations that Adobe's come out with that have kind of inspired you to create cool tools on top of it?
One of the most recent release of our player had the dynamic streaming of Adobe built in. that's something that works like very good, very well. It's very nice.
And by dynamic streaming, basically variable bit rate.
Yeah. So I'm on a crappy connection. I see a low quality video. I'm on a very good connection. I see high quality
HD,
video.
yeah.
Or it's especially nice if you're watching the video in your small screen inside the website, and you click then on full screen, and then boom, you get the HD version. That's like a very, very nice use case of dynamic streaming that most people don't talk about. Like, it's mostly they're talking about the bandwidth, but it's especially like the full screen experience that makes it also so nice.
So basically, when they're watching a little thing, it doesn't need to send the HD feed.
Yeah.
Because
like
it's
only
thumb size.
only the CDN will profit from that, right?
Yeah.
So you send it the very small video, which will look perfectly fine in a small screen. You go to full screen and you'll send it the HD video, so it will still look good.
Cool.
Yeah.
What are some kind of recent feature requests that people are bugging you with?
So what we're now, we have like a little bit of work on some feature requests, and we're doing a major overhaul of the player right now, which is about to be released in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so we can't talk about the specific features.
Well, we can talk a little. I can talk a little bit
Okay.
about the specific stuff. Like in terms of features, we're looking into DVR support, which is like one of the features in the new FMS. And DVR is like very nice because it brings like the live video a little bit into the internet age. Like, you have a little bit of control over that live feed instead of sitting back and watching the show. Like, you can at least like seek and pause. So
Yeah.
that's
Time shift.
and time shift. Yeah, like that's in terms of like features. In terms of like the big overhaul. We are now at version 4 of the player, which was the first version of the player which other people could program against. So you could skin the video player, and you could build plugins for the video player to connect this to your websites, to your sharing servers, to your advertising network. And in player 5, like, we took the stuff that we learned in player 4, and we made right from the start, we made a very robust API. So all the guys that want to build sharing plugins, analytics plugins, like cool 3D cover flow plugins, like, they can do that very easily now. Second is we redid the skinning. You had to use a Flash for the skinning. It was pretty difficult for some guys. So in the new version of the player, it's all with PNG files. So if you can build a website, like if you can style a website with a couple of images in CSS, you can style a video player.
That's cool.
Yeah, we think that thing will really take off.
Yeah.
That will really take like the number of skins, like it will really uptake. The third is that we now also opened up our playback APIs. So like deep under the hood of the player, there's this thing that connects to the server, or the like the HTTP server, RTMP server. We kind of kept that to ourselves up until now, and we're now like saying to, like, this mostly appeals to CDNs or sites like YouTube or Vimeo, which have their own like way of connecting to their video, and they can now build a plugin for the player. We don't call those plugins, we call them providers. They're sitting not on top of the player, but underwater.
Yeah.
And they'll make sure that if you're in Limelight or an Akamai, like the JW player supports your like cool load balancing feature or your security feature. So these guys can actually make sure that like the latest and greatest of their CDN is supported by JW player because they build it themselves. They don't have to wait for us to like update the player every time they update something.
Very cool. So, and when's the release? Next week or next month?
The release is in 2 weeks.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by, and in 2 weeks I'm going to check it out.
All right, cool. Yeah, you can already check it out. The betas are on there.
The sneak preview.
Well, it's fully functional.
The beta.
So it's looking good.